What's up guys, Chris here from Signs of Life. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna do an experimental ambient track from scratch. Hopefully we're gonna get done in around 25 or 30 minutes or so, and it's gonna be suitable for producers of all skill levels, but mainly for the, beginner, intermediate style. If you guys are struggling with how to come up with new ideas for ambient, you might learn something here. I'm gonna be using a mixture of free and paid software, but feel free to follow along in any software that you do have. And of course, I'm gonna be using Ableton Live 12. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna get out of the way here. And where I thought we'd start is with none other than pigments. So let's grab pigments here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab pigments and just sort of lay down a basic pad. And then we're gonna freeze that pad with a reverb. And we're gonna use that as sort of our basic drone and then go from there. So engine-wise, we're gonna start with, say, analog, all right? You can start with analog or you can start with harmonic engine. I'm gonna start with the analog engine. Add some voices of unison here, maybe take down the stereo a little bit. We'll adjust our ADSR, so attack up around 3.5 seconds, decay around the same. Sustain down to around 75, 80%, and up the release to around 4 seconds. Okay, now, I'm gonna be playing an A flat minor here, okay? And I'll just go ahead and just kind of play some notes. It's a nice chord, all right? Basic chord here. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna lower the cutoff down to around 1,300 hertz. It's gonna give you a nice dark, analog pad here. And that's all you want. You don't want anything crazy. You can adjust the attack curve here. You can adjust this to taste, obviously, depending on how bright or dark you want it. And there's a couple of adjustments you can make here. You can add some volume to the other oscillators. You can adjust the FM, right? You can do all kinds of stuff here, like just go crazy, right? But the point is you're having a unison sort of detune thing, right? Very simple, nice and easy, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a reverb. And the reverb I'm gonna use is my favorite reverb of the year, of the week, of the month, whatever. It's just a really awesome reverb. It's the Pro R2 from FabFilter. Now, the reason why I chose this reverb is because it has a freeze function up here, all right? Your reverb may not, the stock Ableton one does. So if you have a reverb that has freeze on it, feel free to use that. I'm gonna use this one. And what we're gonna do is choose a preset from Remote Vision's Cinematic Space. Don Tyler is really, really talented at preset and reverb design specifically. And we're gonna use one of his presets, and this one's called Clear Air Turbulence, all right? So I'm gonna lower down the mix a little bit, and let's go ahead and play this. I'm gonna play again, just a basic minor chord here. Hear what this sounds like. Really nice reverb. You can up the brightness a little bit. And what we're gonna do is freeze it right here. Now, I'm not holding any keys down. I'm just no hands on, right? And this is cool, right? Because we have total control over the mix, right? Kind of mess with that, but it's like frozen in time. You can hear that. So now we have just like a dense reverb that's kind of sitting there. Now, what can we do with this? Well, the first thing you can do is process this, because this is just an ongoing drone signal, however you like. I'm gonna use Beam, all right? A lot of you guys have Beam, sort of hot topic. Earlier on in the year. I love Beam. I think it's great. I really like Lunacy. I think they're a great company. And Beam is really cool because Beam, you can just keep stacking these effects. Let's just start with the grains node. We're gonna unlink the rate and the size and really let this thing loose, all right? Kind of adjust the size here. You can adjust the shape to maybe like a round shape. We'll use the ARP here and put on octaves. You can kind of hear where I'm going with this. Nice, kind of octave spray. You can spray a little bit, adjust the width, maybe add some reverse. Just gotta love Beam. And then you can lower down the mix. So we get the original drone signal and that sort of hint of octaves here coming from Beam, all right? Now, again, Beam is a multi-effect, so you could like add more nodes here. You could add like a space node. You can add the new time if you have it, a filter, whatever you want, right? But what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna add another instance of a reverb. Now this could be any reverb. It doesn't have to be the Pro R2. I'm gonna use the Pro R2 again. And I'm actually gonna design my own preset here. So we'll choose the default setting, up the space to like 10 seconds, then up the percentage of the decay rate, all right? And then we're going to add some brightness. We'll take our decay rate EQ and we'll up it here and we'll make this a high shelf. Oh yeah. And then we'll take the post EQ and we'll do the same high shelf here. I'm gonna adjust this like that. There we go. Works just like a Pro Q3. Oh yeah, very nice. And then now that we got it all nice and, you know, it's cooking, let's up the mix here. Oh yeah. Awesome. So now we got a nice drone, right? Nice drone here, okay? Now it's a little loud, okay? We can adjust the first initial Pro R2. There we go. Now let's add a filter after this, okay? And now we're gonna add some modulation here. So let's add a filter. Let's go to the auto filter. I rarely ever do this, but sometimes it works, all right? Add auto filter, and we're gonna modulate this with an LFO. So I'm gonna add the auto filter, maybe we make it 12, lower down the resonance. We're gonna go in this range, right? Just like that. Nice, slow LFO. Super simple, right? So we're gonna take an LFO from Ableton. If you have another LFO in your DAW, you can use that. And we'll take the LFO, we'll take it off mod and put it on remote. And we're going to lower down the depth, lower down the rate here, put it from sine to glider, which is that new mode. I really like that one. And we'll map that to the frequency. There we go, just like that. We can lower the depth down. Change the offset. There we go. So now that gives us a little bit more motion in our reverb ocean, if you know what I'm saying. So we have this like motion happening in our reverb tail. It's happening randomly because glider is a random waveform style. You can adjust the rate here in which that happens. If you want it slower or faster. I'm at like 0.46, actually like 0.32. There we go, nice and slow. Adjust the depth if you want a little more. And then I'm gonna add some of my send reverb here just to finish this off. So I'll put it through the pad bus. I'm running the utility template, of course. Add a bunch more and some delay. And there's our foundation, right? So we started at the basic pad and pigments here, just an analog pad, nothing crazy, all right? And then, of course, we can collapse this. Frozen reverb, always a good choice, right? Instant ambient. And then beam, little grains action, right? And then another Pro R2, and then an auto filter, and then, you know, some send reverb. That's the Pro R2 again as our send. This is Olancha Farewell, which I've used on the past like six records, basically. All right, cool. Now let's rename this. This is our bass drone, this is our drone, okay? And we're gonna add a bass. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that most people make in ambient is forgetting about the bass. Bass is essential to really good sounding ambient music. So highly recommended you focus on some bass here. So let's go ahead, add Vital, just because we can. It's free, everyone has it. Simple bass here, nothing crazy. All I'm gonna do is add a filter, 24 dB, lower down the filter here to around, I don't know, 15 semitones. And I'm gonna play a nice low B flat note. But first, I'm gonna add like 5 voices of unison and lower down the D tune, okay? To around 6 or 7%, and play that note. Oh yeah, and you can feel it right away, right away. So there's our bass. We're not done, but I mean, you know, it's off to a good start. So let's sync it up, put it in stereo mode, and put this on 2/1, and grab that and put that on the filter. Oh yeah. So we got some motion happening in the filter over here. As you can see on our oscilloscope, that's an awesome little jam, right? Nice, slow, moving foundation. You can see all the harmonics are just kind of dancing up here. Really nice. Let's add another oscillator and put that on basic shapes. We'll change it from filter 2 as its output to direct out. There we go. Very nice. And now let's go to the effects and we'll add a compressor, leave it on multiband, take the lows down, take the mix down, take the attack down, up the release. We can add a distortion here and change it from soft clip to sine fold. And maybe take that same random and adjust the drive. Oh yeah. Make it bipolar. And you can see what that did to the oscilloscope. Like now we have some really interesting, you know, sine fold distortion happening here. I like that. That's good. That's very good. All right. You could add a reverb here if you want. Take the lows out of it, of course. Up the size, up the time, and just leave the mix where it is. You don't want anything too spacious. But you can see how easy that was. I mean, just basically a filtered sawtooth, sine wave going direct out, effects, compressor, distortion, reverb, and it has that really nice hint of like, there's life down there, right? With the random. I love that. Cool. All right, let's make a MIDI clip. We'll make it 16 bars long. Just like that. Open it up, find our note, switch to 8 bars and draw in our note. There we go. Excellent. All right, and hit play. There we go. Okay. So now that we got that established, you can feel like we got a good foundation here. Like it's just like, that's a good start to a drone, to an ambient track, to anything, right? It's gotta have bass. It's gotta have some, you know, ambient soundscape kind of thing, but it needs more, you know, needs more depth, needs more, I don't know, there's a lot more we could do with it. So what I thought we'd do is use a simple sample and then process that sample in really interesting ways using some of Ableton's stock effects and some other plugins. So let's continue. All right, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a sample here. Now your sample library may differ from this. This is the Japan samples that I provided all my Patreons earlier on in the year when I went to Japan. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop this sample right onto the instrument track. Now, if you don't know this in Ableton, if you do this, it's gonna create a simpler, all right? Simpler is like the pared down sampler. And this is just a sample of like some birds when I was at a temple, right? And I'm just gonna kind of loop this. Let's up the gain a little bit. There we go, check it out, it's just some birds. Cool. Nice, some birds chilling. All right, we can up the gain a little more. There we go. And let's put it on loop mode, okay? We can adjust this release, decay, that kind of thing. There we go. Now what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna use this as the basis of our sound. We'll just pick like this section right here. There we go. I'm just playing 2 octaves, nothing crazy. You could filter this, you can do whatever you want. And again, this could be any sample, right? I've talked about samples on this channel many, many times before. Okay, cool. So now that we got that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add, from Ableton, we're gonna add the spectral resonator. Yeehaw, right? And this is part of the technique that I showed in my video that I did for Ableton, the company, all right? We're gonna put on granular mode, up a decay. Sounds weird, but we're gonna lower our harmonics down, okay? And the reason why it sounds weird is because it's on Hertz mode right now. Let's switch it to note mode and choose the note we're playing, which is G sharp number 1. Now what you can do with this, which is really cool, I love this trick, is see how it says mode internal right now? We can actually use the MIDI here to adjust this note frequency to a scale, if you know what I'm saying. Because right now you hear this, it's sort of like this bouncy, sort of resonating thing. But what if we can move this frequency knob by scale or by note? Let's do that, all right? I like that. But before we do that, instead of holding down my birds, I'm gonna put a looper in between it. So I'll grab a looper right here, and let's go ahead and record this. And play it. Cool. So now I'm hands off, and we got full-on resonation happening. Birds are going. There you go. Boom. All right? I like that. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, let's grab Stepic. If you got it, Stepic. And we'll grab Stepic, and what we're gonna do is do a simple sequence in Stepic, all right? Let's go natural minor, G sharp 2, and lower the note length to like 1/2 or 1/4 and put on 8 steps, okay? So now what you can do is add some notes here in Stepic. okay? Maybe add an octave. We're gonna randomize the direction using the purple dice, okay? And we'll use the same here, purple dice. Cool. Nice, nice, right? So now what's happening is Stepic is sort of randomizing its note choice. You can also like make a skip step here, randomize that. And what we'll do, because Stepic is a MIDI plugin, we're gonna rename this channel Stepic, is we're going to take that and use that as the MIDI input here on the Spectral Resonator. So let's go MIDI input from Stepic and put it on post effects, okay? And put it on MIDI. Oh yeah. Yes. So you hear that the resonator is now being tuned by Stepic over here. Stepic is just innocently playing this sequence, and all it's doing is being routed internally to the resonator. Awesome, we love it. And I'm not playing a single key because I got my looper going and it's just doing its thing. Love it. All right, now let's delay this out and really start blissing this out. All right, let's grab a delay. I thought about which delay I want. I'm gonna actually choose recirculate. Why? Because I rarely ever use recirculate on this channel. I love this delay. It's a really cool delay. Shout out to the guy who made it. And yeah, awesome. So what I love about it is you can unlink the channels. And what that does is it gives you control over the taps, which is so cool. So we can take the dry down, okay? So we're just getting wet signal. And then unlink the channels by clicking the Chan Link button. And now look. Now we can up the feedback here. So now we're going left, right, left, right, left, right. Love that. We can change the behavior from standard to granular. So it's sampling the delay line. How cool is that? That's very haunting. I love it. I absolutely love it. And you could go as crazy as you want with this. You could have more delay. There you go. Oh my God. So cool. So, from birds, into the looper, into the resonator, through Stepic, sequence, into recirculate. That's what I'm talking about. You could go crazy here. You could add like, you know, some compression. It's got drive here. Add some grit, some grime. Like there's lots of stuff you can do in the way of the path of the delay. Really, really good delay. Came out like last year. I love Newfangled stuff. They make such great plugins. All right, cool. So we're still not done with that. We got to put it through a bus, and maybe we can add reverb here. Let's use Supermassive because it's free, and you know, we want to bliss this out. So Supermassive, be judicious here. Don't just slap the mix up to 100%. Like, let's go Scorpio. We're fitting the season here. Up the delay, up the warp, up the feedback, up the density. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. That is crazy good. Oh, listen to that. You hear that? Like every once in a while it hits that higher octave in Stepic. We could actually add a utility here, and we'll put that here before the recirculate. Oh yeah. There we go. That's really good. I love it. So you can see, like, with just a couple careful considerations, you know, like a little bit of this here, a little bit of that there, like stock effects, third-party effects, like this is alchemy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is ambient alchemy right here. Anyway, this is the kind of thing I love to do. Honestly, when I'm not producing records, or even when I am, I'm like, diving into this stuff because this is my art form. And hopefully that, you know, if you guys are either beginners or intermediates, you picked up something from this tutorial. So anyway, we're not done, but we're off to a good start. All right, anyway, let's go back to Ableton. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a couple more elements here to really round this off. So don't forget, this is Stepic. This is our sort of bird drone. And this is our bass over here. All right, so let's go ahead and add a pad here, and then we're gonna round the whole thing off with a sequence, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn some of this stuff down. Let's turn it down so we kind of hear ourselves make a pad. And we're gonna grab Vital for our pad, okay? So I'm gonna grab Vital because it's free, everyone has it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna do a quick tutorial in the Wavetable editor. You guys saw me do this in the Dark Ambient tutorial. I'm just gonna go over it again real quick in case you guys are new. Just right click and randomize here in the harmonics and right click and randomize in the phase. Then what you can do is just right click again and clear the right. So what that does is give you a really cool shape here. You can kind of mess with. We're on keyframe number 1, right? You can go ahead and add later harmonics if you want to just kind of spice this up. And then what you can do is double click here in the timeline and you're creating a new keyframe. And when that's highlighted, what you can do is do the same process over again. You randomize it, randomize the phase, right click again, clear right, and then maybe like zoom out here, right? And maybe add some later harmonics or something. And what you can see here is now you have a contrast between the two different keyframes. So that's always what I'm looking for is contrast in my wavetables, right? I'm going to move this out a little bit. We'll add another keyframe, double click, and go ahead and randomize, clear right, maybe like zoom back into the default 8 times, clear right. You can adjust some of these early harmonics to get a real sense of the shape here, add some later harmonics. That's looking good, so let's try that. Yeah, cool. All right, one more, add another keyframe, randomize, clear right, and maybe just add some more later harmonics, and there we go. So now we have a nice little wavetable there, custom-made wavetable, spent no dollars. It's just really easy to do that, right? So we have this wavetable. Let's add some voices of unison here. We'll lower our detune down, and we're gonna up our attack to around maybe 4 seconds, decay around 4 seconds, lower the sustain down, up the release to around 5 seconds, back up, and there we go. So now you can go ahead and play here. Just go ahead and play a chord. Very nice. Because we added our little unison detune here, sounded like that. Now we can scan through our wavetable that we just created. Very nice. Now, of course, we can use a random for that. So we can use sync stereo and put it on like 1/1. And we'll drag the handle up to this and hold shift, and it comes in as bipolar. Very nice, we like that. So now as you can hear, we're not only modulating the position, but we're also modulating in stereo here. Love that. Okay, very nice. Turn on the filter 1 here, activate the filter, okay? We can use that same random on the filter, lower it down. So now we got a nice pad here to contrast all the other work we did, you know, with the drone, the bass, the birds are still there in the background, right? Love that, cool. Let's add a sub oscillator here by turning on oscillator 2 and putting it through filter 1. All right, that's very key, the output here. Filter 1, and we'll change this to basic shapes. We'll go factory basic shapes. And we'll go ahead and make it a triangle, lower down the level, hold shift, and lower down the transpose by 12 semitones. So now we have a nice, like, deep sub oscillator here. Oh yeah, you can hear that. Gorgeous. Love that, all right? Now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna add a sample here down at the bottom, all right? So the sample I'm gonna use is, again, not the white noise, we're gonna use the Left Drums Free Field Recordings. And this one, we're gonna go to the classic, Ants on Sugar, right? Ants on Sugar. So we're gonna put this through filter 1, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use that random on the pitch, okay? And then we're gonna also use, we're gonna turn up the level, and we're gonna use a LFO on the pan, okay? So not only we kind of modulating this in space, we're gonna modulate it panning around in stereo. So we'll take an LFO, trigger, sync, right? and put that on 2/1 and then use that, hold shift again and drag it to the pan. And now look at this. So now Ants on Sugar is being pitch modulated and spun around your head. Bingo. Now let's add some effects. So compression, take the lows out of it, adjust the attack and release, lower it on the band, add some delay, ping pong delay, tempo dotted, adjust the spread here. EQ, you can kind of click that once, make it a high pass. Adjust the resonance here. You lower down this part right there, adjust the resonance. Very nice. And finally, add a reverb here. Of course, you want a big size, long time, and adjust the mix to taste. Oh yeah. Yeah. You can get away with lowering the filter down if you got that stereo modulation. Again, 1/1 might not be appropriate. Maybe you want 2/1. Whatever works for you. Love that. So we just created an entire pad from scratch. We built our own wavetable here. Again, you see it. We built our own wavetable, right? Sub oscillator with the basic shapes. Ants on Sugar, which is a free sample from my friend Left Drum. That's all you need. All you need. Vital in a nutshell. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and add some chords now. We're gonna make a 16-bar loop here. We're gonna turn off the grid. I'll start with my, of course, minor 7th chord. Move this all the way out. There we go. You can intuitively put your own notes here. It doesn't have to be specific. I'm gonna add this note right here. I love that chord. Oh yeah, it sounds so good. Maybe I'll add this one. Very nice. Yeah, that's a nice little repeat right there. There we go. Perfect. All right, great. Play it. Excellent. Put this through the synth bus. Add a little finishing reverb here. We can back up our original drone. Oh yeah. I'm liking where this is going, right? So, as you can see now, like, with all these different elements, like the original drone, the bass down there, that bird sting we made with the looper, right? I mean, and now this pad, like, you're really starting to feel like, wow, this is thick. It's a thick atmosphere, and that's what you want. Like, you really, when you're making ambient, like I said, it's all about experimentation, diving into the process, finding out what works, and then seeing what comes out on the other side. We got time for one more element. Let's do one more, all right? One more. You ready? We're gonna add a sequence, okay? And for that, we're gonna design blind in Stepic, right? Now, we can use Vital again, okay? But here's the thing, I love designing blind. What is designing blind? Well, designing blind means you pretty much design without even hearing it. So it's kind of like sight unheard, right? And what we can do here is we can come over, let's grab Vital, put it on this track over here, and we're gonna design a pluck. If you've never designed a pluck before, check this out. It's as simple as this. Here's the recipe, okay? Leave it on sawtooth, that's the default, okay? Add a factory basic shape sine wave, all right? Now both the sine wave and the sawtooth are gonna go through a filter, and that's gonna be a 24 low pass filter, just like this, all right? You can lower it down around -16 semitones, somewhere around here, okay? Now adjust your envelope. So I'm gonna take the sustain all the way out, leaving my decay at around a ½ second. Just like that, nice little ramp, okay? That's our volume, or our VCA. Take a second envelope, take the sustain out, lower the decay down to around 0.3 seconds and drag that over to the cutoff. Now, you see how it comes in with this big long line? You don't want that, so lower down the wheel amount so it barely touches. The other cool little touch you're gonna do is take the velocity handle over here, take velocity and drag it over to the filter as well and adjust it. Cool, we're almost done. Now, take LFO1, put it on sync mode, 4/1, drag it over to the cutoff as well, and we'll adjust its amount like this. Okay, done deal, all right? Now let's add a sequence, okay? Again, we just designed all that blind, right? You can add some effects here if you want. Maybe a multi-band compressor, just like we did before. And we'll add a delay like we did before. Again, I'm kind of fast forwarding through this because you guys already saw this once. So there we go, that's good. We'll take an EQ, maybe take this out of it, there we go. Add some little brightness, nothing crazy, and add a reverb. With reverb, I like to take the low out of it, up the size, up the time, mix it around 35%. That's it, okay? Now let's turn off Vital, and we'll turn on Stepic. Now, your Stepic may differ from mine because I'm using the Max for Live version, so I'm gonna put it right before Vital. And again, I turned off Vital so we can do this in the dark. Sort of the theme of the season here. And we'll go G sharp number 2, that's our key, okay? We're playing an A flat. So, let's go natural minor. We'll go 8 steps, 1/8, okay? And we'll add some notes here, maybe a D sharp, an E, and like a B. Cool, I like that. We'll add 2 octaves here that are higher octaves, and we'll randomize this. Purple dice means you're not gonna repeat. Purple dice here, not gonna repeat. And maybe we'll make a skip step. Boom. And finally, we'll randomize that velocity. You remember, we added velocity to our Vital patch. That's very important that you program that in, okay? So now we have some varied velocity here. We got this octave thing going on. I think we're ready to go. We're ready for the big reveal, all right? So let's go. You ready? Let's turn on Vital and see how we did. Oh yeah. You can hear that. Oh yeah, that's so good. Up the mix here. Oh my God. We nailed it. With the subtle velocity, the LFO. Oh my God. Oh, that's so gorgeous. Lower down some of the elements here, add some room. Yeah. So, as you can see, like, we didn't even like look at what we were doing. We just designed it in the dark, trusted our instincts, trusted our intuition, and look what happened. This is the kind of thing I'm truly passionate about, because I feel like if you can get to this level where you're kind of like really experimenting with the tools you have, you're playing around with new things, and like I said earlier in the video, you're forming an ambient alchemy of sorts, and just kind of letting things happen, this is how new worlds get created, honestly. So let's review what we just did. We started out with the drone. Pigments, basic pad here, through this reverb, remember we froze the reverb, and then we moved on to beam, added a little bit of grains here for some extra octaves, right? Another Pro R2, little filter movement here on the bottom. We added a bass in Vital. It's a very simple recipe here. Added some effects here at the bass, right? Getting our oscilloscope, nice little motion below. And then we added this weird bird drone, which I thought was really cool, right? But what we did was, we looped it, we put it through the spectral resonator, we put Stepic through this resonator to add even more craziness, and then we added recirculate with an off delay here in granular mode. That was really fun. And then finally, of course, simple, free but powerful Vital pad here with the ants on sugar. You can still hear. Oh yeah, so good. Add a little more reverb to that. Very nice. Oh my gosh. And then finally, of course, Stepic, the one and only Stepic, through the most basic recipe, which you can copy, you know, in any synthesizer, really. And that's what it's all about. So, in the end, we got there. We did an experimental ambient track in 35-ish minutes, but if you guys had fun, so did I. And yeah, if you enjoyed this tutorial and you enjoy my tutorial style, you would love my Patreon. I'm doing a free tutorial on Patreon every month for patrons of all tiers, including my free tier. So if you want to just join me on Patreon, you guys get a free tutorial every month. And also, I mean, if you're so generous, you can join one of the paid tiers and you get these 3-part series that I'm doing every month. We had the Art of Chill last month. The month before that, we had the mixing and mastering tutorial. I'm gonna do a beginner's ambient series here in November. So there's so much going on in the Signs of Life universe, and I would love to have you guys with me. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. I totally enjoyed it. So in the meantime, take good care. I'll see you guys down there in the comments. Leave a comment down below. And as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. My name is Chris from Signs of Life, and we'll see you guys in the next video.